Welcome back to BadgerBlitz TV, your Rivals.com destination for all things Wisconsin athletics. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined as always by Rivals.com national analyst Clint Cosgrove. Like we always say, buddy, it's the best time of the week.
Best time of the week. Can't get any better. If it was, I'd be on vacation, man.
Well, I think a lot of us could use a vacation right now with all of the camps going on in what you're doing. I mean, you are everywhere, dude. You've been in Cincinnati, you've been in Atlanta, and you're on the road again this weekend, I think, in Columbus.
Yeah, this past weekend was the first time I was home for a weekend in like over a month, I think. So that was nice. I kind of didn't know what to do with my hands, but I tried not to work all day, every day. There was a couple things that popped up, had some commitments, had to prep some stuff, and still had to finish up some content from the Cincinnati camp. But it was nice to be home. Headed to the Under Armour camp in Columbus. That is on Sunday. So I'm head out there to beautiful Ohio once again. I feel like I'm there all the time. But it looks like a pretty good roster. There's going to be some big time players there. But you never know who will show. A lot of it will depend on the weather, travel arrangements, and everything like that. You know, like Chris Henry Jr., he didn't make it to our camp in Cincinnati, but he's on the roster for this. So hopefully I'll get a chance to see him. Guys like Brian Robinson, who's a Wisconsin target and a physical freak. I'm excited to see his development. I think last time I saw him in person was at the Under Armour camp maybe a year ago. But the roster is looking pretty good. There's going to be a number of Wisconsin targets there. I don't have the full list right in front of me, but it looked to be pretty loaded. So I'm excited for that. Get some new evals in. You know, Jameer Benjamin is a kid that I'm excited to see. I haven't seen him in a while. You know, he was committed to Stanford, opened things up. Maybe in Michigan State lean right now. He's a borderline 4-star prospect. He'd be a great fit in Madison. He's talented enough. I think he'd be a good culture fit. Obviously, committing to Stanford, extremely smart, intelligent kid. So I'm excited to see him and his development as well. But it's been crazy over the past week. You know, kids who went into that Cincinnati camp without offers. A bunch of kids got their first offer, and a bunch of kids added a ton more. Like Burgess out of Simeon in Chicago. I think he picked up like 8 SEC offers the last couple of days. So that film's gotten out to the college coaches. It's kind of crazy to see, but go back to the globalization of recruiting. I mean, schools that have been in Chicagoland this weekend, USC and Miami, and Texas and Georgia, and it's crazy to see the amount of schools that typically don't go heavy in the region up here. Not only just hitting just one school, but a lot of times in the past they would literally fly in on a jet, see the kid they needed to see, go straight to the airport, and be out of there to head to the next kid they need to see. So like when Miami was here the other day, I was interested. Are they just going to go and see Marquise Lightfoot? Are they going to do more? And then, you see other offers going out like Jalen Thompson, the defensive lineman out of Palatine. And, so it was interesting and cool to see that not only are they coming for a kid, they're staying and kind of taking a look around. And I think people are starting to recognize the talent that's coming out of the area. I mean, you look at the draft picks and, Illinois and Michigan each had 12, I think. Maybe Michigan had 11. Ohio had a bunch.
You're talking about kids, probably like high schools in those states turned out those main draft picks.
Yeah. And in this draft, and then you look out west and I saw, California sitting there with like 24 or 25, with 8 times the population of a place like Wisconsin. So, it's pretty cool to see. Like I've always said, the Midwest kids, they have high ceilings. They're developmen's prospects a lot of the time. Now you get your freaks, you get your JC Lathams. Well, a lot of them end up down at IMG in the end, but there's some dudes up here and they have incredibly high ceilings. They're tough kids. They love football, and it's good to see that the rest of the nation is recognizing that and seeing a heavy elite team presence, not just Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, kind of, picking and choosing up here. But the big dogs coming up here from the South and trying to battle it out for prospects.
And doesn't that also do kind of the same thing on the flip side, where just because those schools are more and more visible in the area, more and more guys just think of, searching out those schools when they're in their recruiting process as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just, like, I remember coming up, like, I wanted Arizona State to recruit me. It just wasn't going to happen. I didn't understand why at the time, but it just wasn't going to happen, Now, I think, there was a time where a kid, with Georgia's dominance, they're like, well, I'm in the Midwest. I'm not going to go and play at Georgia, so they just didn't even think of that. Well, now Georgia has 10 offers out already in the Midwest in the 25 class. They've got two on roster right now. Actually, I just had that in my 3-point stance this week, but neither of them started out. I guess I'll say it like this. Dominic Lovett started it out at University of Missouri. He's an East St. Louis kid who was at Belleville before that. And he transferred to Georgia. He was one of the SEC's leading receiver, if not leading receiver last year at Missouri. And then, Samuel Mpemba, who was originally from Missouri. He did graduate from IMG in the end. He's also on roster there. I was taking a look at it and the offers that are out, that Nitro Tuggle, yes, he's transferring to IMG, but he committed to Georgia when he was out at Northwood in Indiana. And then, they've put the receiver offers out with, Talon Taylor, Amarion Stewart. And then you also got a lot of the defensive line offers, Justin Scott, Jalen Williams, Christopher Burgess, Alabama, Georgia, the SEC schools, they're coming to the Midwest. And so they're liking a taste of what we got in the water, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say Marquise Lightfoot, a guy that we talked about a long, long time ago together. I think it was a year ago. We were talking about Marquise Lightfoot, and he's turned into like a truly, truly national prospect. That kid is completely taken off.
He can go anywhere if he wants. You could probably name his school. Alabama, Georgia, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, USC, whatever it may be, there's going to be a spot for him. So,
yeah, I mean, again, you find room for that kind of talent. And one of the interesting things that actually came up on the message board today wasn't a kid that was offered recently, but there was a very notable tight end from the Kansas City area who released, I forget, he's one of the top tight ends in the country for the 2024
Jaden Riddell.
There you go. Yeah. And, he's got 1 trillion offers, and the Badgers already have 2 tight ends in the class. But I think even with that and they hadn't offered, I think this is still, is there a chance, I guess I'm asking this sort of in more of a theoretical way, your coaching staff, do you want to go in, even if you've already got 2 tight ends committed in the room, but you say, hey, like there's this kid in Kansas City, one of the top tight ends in the country, going to extend him an offer. Does doing that, do you tell sort of the committed guys ahead of time, hey, we're going to do this because we want to get more presence in the Kansas City area? Is there like some sort of like communication with that between, guys who have committed and then not? I just want to know sort of how this works.
Yeah, it really depends. It's case by case basis. I don't know what the Wisconsin staff told the 2 commits that they have right now. If they said, to the first one, we're taking 1 more and then press the other one to commit and we're done at tight end, well, then, yeah, you do have to have that conversation. For a kid like that.
To be noted, they were actually originally offered before either of them had committed. I'm just sort of saying this in sort of a larger hypothetical, like a larger hypothetical, because there was a graphic that came out to me about him with like the 1 trillion offers that Riddell has.
Yeah, I'm trying to paint the picture similar to like what you were saying. So a lot of it just comes down to communication at the end of the day. Both those tight ends are all in with Wisconsin, it would seem. And, if you get a player of Riddell's caliber, I think they would understand and it wouldn't necessarily hurt their game. He's kind of a hybrid of both of them. He was a 6'4", 205, 210 pound receiver at the beginning, going into his junior year, and then he just got big and he kept his size and speed. People loved him. He went from having nothing to like overnight having everybody. So with a kid like him, you've got your 2 different kind of scenarios. How do you play it in house? I think you communicate, and if you're able to get a player like that, and
you find room for a player like that, right?
You find room. We call that a team take. Kind of like that, getting the best player on the board in the draft. So even if it's not a position in need, you communicate it with the recruits. If they're real competitors, they don't see a problem with it and they want the team to be as good as they can. Kid like Riddell, Do you go and make a big late push on him when he seems to be down to the Alabamas, or, if he doesn't do that, he's maybe stay at home and play for Missouri? I don't know, but if you're recruiting other guys in the Kansas City area and it's worth a stop, and maybe you can, form some type of connection. Now, I wouldn't waste too much time on a kid like him, but it's a kid. You throw your hat in the ring if there is any kind of, reciprocal interest, and you don't have to, spend a lot of money on it, spend a lot of time on it. He's a guy, that he would know that he has the offer, and if there's legit interest, come and check us out, and we have a spot for you. So there's a number of ways to play it. I don't think it's, they're not searching for another tight end in this class, but if one falls into your lap of that caliber, by all means, you're going to take it.
I think on top of that, the thing it does, like, again, me speculating, you get in with, just it's another coach in a key area that you are trying to increase your recruiting presence in, right? Yeah. And so just forming and establishing more and more of those relationships, especially when you're a tight end coach. Like, Letton is young. This is his first time as a position coach, and or I guess he was over at today, but he's still very young coach on the trail. So it's just getting to know more high school coaches, being more tapped in with, people across the country, as Kansas City is one of the rising metropolises. I don't know. My grammar is not that good. In
the growing city with a growing football population.
That's what I'm going for. That's what I'm saying. We've been saying that forever, though. We've been preaching St. Louis and Kansas City for a while here. You can go back in the archives, and we've had deep dives on why that has happened. Let's wrap it up here today, Clint. We've talked about what you're looking forward to. You've been writing a ton about all these prospects who have been committing all over the place. What else is just catching your eye these days? Like, what is going on in Clint's brain? Because it's a very complex and at times disturbing place.
Yes, it's a place that I wouldn't wish upon anybody else. There's a lot going on in my brain. That's one of the hard parts of this job, is you're balancing a million different things. So, I'm rating kids, evaluating kids, and you got to write content. Then you got to stay on top of the news. You have to know things before they happen. And then you got to come up with graphics requests. And so all this stuff has, production that goes into it. It's not just asking a couple questions and putting the pen to paper. With some of the big time recruits, if you don't have a previous relationship, it can be hard to get in touch with them. So you're working different channels. You're talking to agents, hearing about what's going on in, the NIL world or the coaching change world. It's nonstop. Caleb Brown hits the transfer portal from Ohio State the other day, big time receiver out of Chicagoland. And, I'm getting texts at like 5:30 in the morning from college coaches trying to get insight on where he's going. And I'm just like, I don't know. I haven't talked to him. One thing I like to say is I would love to make a daily list, but that list is gone by the time I'm done with my first cup of coffee. And so that is also the exciting part of this job. You never know what's going to come. A lot of things are on the fly. It makes you paranoid to leave the computer at times, but you get experiences, and you get to do what a lot of people do for a hobby as a living. Now it's a little different when you're doing it for a living, but at the end of the day, I'm talking football. I'm watching football. I'm writing about football, and I'm interacting with the kids, which I love the most. I'm a huge player advocate. The thing I miss most about coaching is developing those relationships with the kids. Now, you do that to a certain extent with this job, but it's not like you have your own room of guys you recruited and you're coaching up and giving life lessons each and every day. But I try to take opportunities to do that along the way. And, it's what keeps me young and what keeps me excited about not only Rivals, but my future at Rivals and what we're doing, big picture wise. So a lot of exciting things coming up. I got a new feature that I think it'll debut today. It's called From the Film Room. Kind of a ripoff of what you and I do, Perko, where you cut off the film and we talk about the players. So start out with Jeremiah McClellan, just doing one this week, but basically do a quick overview. Then there's like 10 clips, and then I talk about why he's special. I point out the elite traits. I point out what's going on schematically, how he's making plays, stuff that looks routine, why it's special. And then at the end, kind of do a wrap up, give an NFL comp. But I think it's pretty cool. I hope it's something that catches on for your film junkies or guys who are learning to look more about the evaluation process or learn more. It'd be a great thing because there's definitely some takeaways that you can have there. I try not to overcomplicate it, and just point out things on the on the simplest level, the simplest terms, so that everybody can understand it. Both people who have a vast knowledge of football, who have evaluated for a long time, and then people who are just learning how to evaluate or learning what we look for when looking at recruits. Be on the lookout for that. Called From the Film Room with Clint Cosgrove, and I believe it'll debut this afternoon.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. And I can say from experience, Clinton, you explain what you are looking at and what you are looking for better than anyone I've ever met. So I am very excited to watch these as well. And so make sure that you are tuned in to that on the Rivals YouTube page, I'm assuming, and Rivals.com front page.
It'll go on the Rivals.com front page. I don't know. And then also on our social channels.
Yeah,
they'll run the full thing or full clips of it. But I think it'd be a cool feature. Hopefully it blows up, and then it's one of those things where, you got a lot of the big time kids being like, "Oh, can you do me?" And I think it could have some legs. And as long as I keep it fun and keep it interesting, we'll see where it goes.
Well, you're pretty good at that, Clint, and we appreciate you, and you'll be able to find it. Clint, I'm sure you will tweet it out at Rivals_Clint, both Twitter and on Instagram. I don't think he's a TikToker, at least yet.
No.
So neither am I. It's totally fine. This is a judgment-free zone on TikTok, wherever you lie.
I have some of my videos got like 1 million views on TikToks. I didn't even know they were on there. Our Rivals has a TikTok page that blows up. I guess I've never really seen it, but so
I know. So
I'll leave it to the professionals.
I'm still terrified to get on that, but that's just
me too.
Yeah, well, that we're too old for it, and that's how we feel, at least at this point in our lives. Nonetheless, we appreciate everyone for tuning in here on BadgerBlitz TV. Make sure you're on BadgerBlitz every day. Subscribe. Get into the den where everyone is chopping it up. And so until next time, he is Clint Cosgrove. I am Matt Perkins. And until then, we will see you in the den.
See you in the den.